Hello, my name is Megan, and my team asked the question, what is the evolutionary basis of altruistic behavior in humans? All right, so first of all, what is altruism? Altruism is a behavior that is displayed by humans that decreases the donor's immediate and direct fitness while simultaneously increasing the recipient's of this behavior direct fitness. So, in this behavior, the recipient gets immediate benefits. The donor, the person performing the altruistic act, immediately gets hurt in some fashion. Their fitness is compromised. Now, this type of behavior seems all fine and dandy on the surface, but evolutionarily speaking, it is actually seemingly quite odd. As human beings, as animals, our sole purpose in life is to survive so that we may reproduce and pass on our genes. However, altruistic behavior hurts us in some shape or form. This could lead to the possibility that we do not reproduce and our genes do not get passed down. So, for the purpose of this research, we wanted to know for what reason or reasons should such behavior persist in the human population.
The current notion of evolution is this idea of characteristics that belong to a species for which evidently change over many generations. Darwin's theory of evolution relies on natural selection to be a driving factor. When looking at altruism, there is no benefit to the survival or fitness of that particular being. How can the preference of costly activities persist in humans? Through natural selection, traits that are deemed beneficial to the survival of that individual will be passed down to offspring. There are many problems that arise when discussing evolution of altruism. We investigate altruistic behavior to understand how humans have evolved into cooperative societies. Some problems that arise are that selection occurs at the level of the individual. And how can altruistic behavior persist in the human population? As well as helping someone does not seem beneficial on the surface of the individual. We have decided on looking at 3 reasons for why altruism has persisted in the human population. The first reason discussed is in-group benefits. Looking at in-group benefits provides an understanding of how altruistic behaviors can persist within humans. The next idea that we came across was kin selection. By looking at how mates are chosen in kin, we can observe the characteristics that are preferred and how altruism can be passed down through progeny. Coming to the last motive of understanding the evolution of altruism in humans, we choose innateness as the last factor. This topic connects behaviors that are visibly seen to innate mechanisms that can be identified, allowing for altruism to be understood.
The first main finding that we found to be a reason for the persistence of human altruism is that of in group benefits. What is an in group? In psychology, an in group is defined as a social group in which a person identifies to be a member of. This could include anything in terms of race, ethnicity, gender, your peers, basically a group that you fit into. So, from our research, I'm going to talk about a couple empirical studies that were conducted that give us insight as to why altruism might occur in these groups. The first study I want to talk about is by Dykhoff, Whitmer, and Reimers. In their study, they looked into parochial altruism. This is altruism that occurs toward a person's in-group members because of the tendency for people to prefer those within their own in-group. The study found that people will fight against others not in their group in the defense of those in their group. Conflict between groups can lead to violence, and violence can lead to not being able to pass on your own genes. Fighting to defend in-group members puts a person at risk. This is a clear sign of altruism because violence and fighting may not always end in your favor, and it may decrease your own personal fitness. People do this because they want their in-group members to be on top. They want them to survive and their genes to persist. If you fight to defend someone and lose the ability to pass on your genes, shouldn't it be better that the genes of the people within your group who most likely share some genetic makeup with you persist? Another study we looked into was conducted by Hernandez-Wolf. In this study, shared trauma in the case of severe political unrest was looked at. Here, the in-group is defined as people who have shared the same sort of trauma. it was found that these people behave more altruistically towards each other because of this horrible thing that brought them together. The results indicated that these people somehow banded together, making them an in group, and found self affirmation, which has helped them in reclaiming their personal strength. In this case, people help others while potentially decreasing their own personal fitness in the form of psychological stress because they care for the people they identify with. So, as we can see, these two very different studies show us that members of an in group look out for one another no matter the costs, making in group benefits a possible explanation for the persistence of human altruism.
Moving on, the argument for the persistence of altruism is understood through kin selection. Choosing a mate comes down to preference and is the sole determiner for traits to be selected. One study done by Oda, Shibata, Kiyonari, Tadeka, and Matsumoto in 2013 found that for heterosexual partners, there is preferences for altruistic behaviors and intentions. When choosing a more altruistic individual as a mate, the altruistic genes stay within the family lineage. Recently, in 2014, Hans Roche found that altruism secures the survival of persons' individual kin. When performing costly activities for the benefit of one's own progeny, the individual is saving their own genes from becoming removed in future generations. Looking at the basis of kin selection provides an opportunity to understand how the evolution of altruism in humans has evolved. Moving on, there are many innate mechanisms and structures that are correlated with altruistic behaviors. For example, a recent study done by Dykhoff, Whitmer, and Reimers in 2014 found when looking at testosterone levels of individuals, those with higher levels were correlated with in-group favoritism. One structure in the human brain, the amygdala, has been observed by Marsh, Stoikos, Brethel, Howitz, Robinson, Van Meter, and Cardinal in 2014 to be reduced in volume in psychopaths. Psychopaths do not typically perform altruistic behavior, and this can be linked to altruism in cognitively healthy individuals. A study done by Lee, Desetti, and Lee in 2013 has been found when experiencing natural disasters, young children perform more altruistic behavior. Lastly, Hauser, Preston, and Stanfield in 2014 found that people prefer to assist those who are happy and in need rather than those who are sad and desperate.
Okay, so conclusions. Based on this analysis and our research, altruism has a reason for its persistence in the population. Whether it be for in group benefits, kin selection, or it's just in our nature, or maybe it's all three, altruism occurs in human behavior for evolutionary reasons. These studies that we researched provide evidence that altruistic behavior is an important trait for humans to have if they want their genes to survive for the next generation. So, providing some sort of help or assistance to another individual does, in some way, help us as individuals.
Building upon the recent findings in our work, there are many reasons for why altruistic behavior tends to persist in human populations. We do not all live in similar environments. If natural disasters increase altruism, then geographical regions should also be taken into account when discussing altruism. Does living in colder climates change the amount of altruism collectively in a group or individually? Further research should be performed to determine if different levels of altruism occur in different geographical regions. The framework of extreme altruism for someone of non-kin still leaves many questions. It is very unlikely that helping those not related will benefit the person doing the act in the long run. Additional research should progress into potential reasons for cases of extreme altruism.